Today we're taking a look at a knife that as soon as I saw that it was dropping on the market, I knew I had to pick it up. That's right, everybody. We're looking today at the Hogue Deka. Wow. Does this knife have some features and materials that immediately require its attention? You've got to be looking at this knife if you are interested and love high quality materials and lightweight EDC designed pocket knives. This Hogue Deka has CPM-20CV steel on G10 handle scales with Hogue's Able lock. We'll talk about that today. And for these really good materials, a very competitive price point. So we're going to take a look at this knife, but we're also going to point out one aspect and how this bit me, sliced my palm open, and whether or not this one little thing is a deal breaker for you or something that is easily overlooked because of the materials, the performance, and the price. So we're gonna hit the blade today. I'm gonna try and do some torque testing. So I'll be doing cutting tests with you guys while we talk about the blade a little bit. All right, guys, so here we go. We got a flat grind, but the blade is 0.1. So it's a thin blade. So this guy can slice like any of my thin full flat grind blades. I would put it on par with even like a Delica 4. So slicing capability, because of that high saber or flat grind, it's got that really nice swedge right there. It penetrates plastic really nicely and other materials and just slices super well. Now, one thing I like is that the tip is very precise. It's a precision tip, so it's going to be able to go through material very easily. Now, it's not super strong, so this is not like a stab pry type of knife. This is a pierce and penetrate type of knife, but I really like that. Now, the cool thing is that this is the generic, nice long edge there into a good belly at the tip here. They do now have on the market a Tanto with 2 separate grinding. I think it's like a really strong saber grind and then maybe a hollow back here. Just take a look into that. So they're starting to do some even other blade shapes along with this generic design that you have here. From handle to tip, it's going to be 3 1/4. Actual cutting edge is about 3 inches. I can put a lot of pressure because of how thin the blade is. Again, it's going to be able to go through lots of stuff, including like that rubber horse mat. Now, another aspect is the edge geometry is really nice on top of just being a thinner blade. So there's seat belt, easily able to go through that. Got some 550 paracord, barely even have to put pressure on it because they did a really nice relief edge on the blade. Got some hemp cord, easy. So for precision cutting and slicing tasks, it may not be the most like robust blade, really thick, 0.16 that some other Hogues are. It's definitely a thinner, more precise, EDC friendly blade shape and design that really connects with me. You can get it with this black coating, you can get it with a satin coating as well. The CPM-20CV steel, I haven't had a lot of experience with it. It's definitely on the premium end. I've used this since it came out. I bought it like week 1 or 2 that it came out, so I think that's been 2 to 3 months. EDC'd it a bunch, cut a lot, not only just today, but lots and lots, just regular stuff that you do every day, and I've yet to even have to tune up the edge. So it's holding a great edge. I would assume if you had to reprofile, it'd be a really big pain, but just touching up with ceramic rod, nice and easy. So let's hit this beautiful looking handle, that Mandrake combo camo color. I don't have another pocket knife like it, so that is super cool. You can get basic other colors that they would offer. This is G10. Now, closed up, we are looking at 4 1/4 inches overall length. Thickness is nice and thin at 0.44, and then a handle height of 1.125 inches. You are going to have, again, that G10. Now, because of the locking mechanism, you basically get like a half liner that goes down to this screw that you see right there. But other than that, there's no like full-on liners. It is flow-through construction with those standoffs, and it's going to come in at 2.34 ounces, or basically 2.4 ounces is what we'll say this little guy is going to come in at. Now there's no jimping or anything like that. You got some really nice grooving in here with this particular model. Not heavy traction, but definitely good traction is what I would say. It's definitely a squarer handle, kind of blocky on the sides, but good transitions around the corners. It's not like super rounded and contoured. My large size hands, I wear large size gloves, you can see there. It got that nice little cut in about an inch from the cutting edge. My pinky is just on there. It doesn't feel too small, but if I had extra large size gloves, I would argue that you're gonna start to feel it a little bit as being a little on the small side. You got that jimping on the spine right there to give you really good traction in a reverse grip. Thumb's gonna be able to rest right there very nicely, very naturally. Feels very good in the hand, and you got good lockup. I never felt like I was gonna slide out of the blade when I was gripping it. Again, it is thin, so I mean, this is a light duty EDC knife, so it's designed that way. The pocket clip is not overly obtuse and sticking out, so it's not gonna create any weird goofy hot spots. It's gonna feel like any other good thin, you know, kind of out of the way pocket clip. When I really bear down on it, it's not gonna cause any hot spots, and you can really get good leverage on the blade. And then because of how lightweight it is, how compact and slim it is, you're not going to notice it in your pocket. So for carryability, it really is a really nice slim win on the design. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit the pocket clip. We got the word Hogue right there. Is that needed? No. It's not overly flashy, but it's there. Ambidextrous pocket clip, so you just rotate it, and there's a little seating portion, little metal piece right there that you would just swap. So completely ambidextrous. You got about 3/4 of an inch standing out of your pocket. Makes it very easy to grab, but because this isn't like a tactical folder, I would prefer, like on this Hogue HK model, you know how they have this loop over? You can see that actually, this much larger, beefier HK will fit in the pocket a little bit deeper than this Hogue. So would have liked to have a loop over. Design's not a deal killer. It's very slim, very thin. Holds the good retention, doesn't thrash your pocket, nothing like that. Absolutely gets the job done. It's ambidextrous. Just would have liked to have it maybe a little bit deeper ride, because this is more of a light duty EDC design than a tactical folder. All right, let's go ahead and hit the locking mechanism, deployment, all that stuff. Now, what we got are dual thumb studs, so it's completely ambidextrous. The cutouts are exactly the same on either side, so righties and lefties are gonna really like it. It rides on bronze bushings that fly open. This thing is just so easy to open and manipulate. The thumb studs have been done very well, showing you that there. They're not sharp and aggressive, but definitely give you the traction that you would want and need. They're just slightly above the handle scale, so it makes it very easy, so you're not gonna accidentally, like miss it or anything like that. So that's super good. And then you got a really nice, cool little pivot right there. Very nice. Centering, mine seems to be just like a millimeter off to one side. It's not like where it's driving me crazy, and it has not floated at all. And maybe if I played with the pivot, I could get it dead center. It does seem just like a micron to one side, but it's not rubbing on the scale or anything like that. And again, I've messed with this for I think 2 months now, 3 months since I've had it. And I haven't had any sort of shifting of the centering of the blade there. So the Able lock is very similar to an Axis lock on, like this Benchmade bug out, a Benchmade. Very, very similar. Now the patent on the Axis lock ran out, so now anyone can make very similar designs. So Hogue came out with this, and I'm not going to go through the whole litany. If you want to see in detail, I took like 10 minutes on the HK made by Hogue exemplar, where we talked about this Able lock in extreme detail. It is not a carbon copy by any means. They basically took everything that the Axis lock is and then just fine-tuned it. It uses wolf springs, which I looked everywhere. I could not figure out if the springs on a Benchmade are wolf. Somebody can please tell me. I mean, I was looking all over the place. I don't think they use them, but if they do, please put it in the comment below. I literally like spent 2 hours trying to research, and I could not figure out whether or not Benchmades use wolf springs. But they use upgraded springs. They made the bar thicker right here, so as it deploys, it hits a stop bar back there, and then the lock bar is thicker than on your average Axis lock. Is what they have designed it to be. So it's just a slightly thicker, stronger, if you will, you could argue that. I haven't done any weight testing. Somebody I'm sure will at some point. But it's a super good lockup. No wobble, right, left, up, and down. It's super smooth. And what I've discovered is that all of my, and I've had probably a dozen Benchmades, they always seem to have a little bit of a catch, like a bird, that you, like when you pull it back, you kind of feel like this a little bit. And you don't really feel that on either of these now two Able lock designs that I've had, this HK made by Hogue, and then now this Deka. It's just super smooth, super smooth, and a really nice bounce back. It's really similar to an Axis lock, but I would say it's on par, or depending on your value system, and if the Wolf springs are the same or not on Benchmade and Hogues or not. Again, please guys let me know if somebody knows. But durability, strength, on par or slightly even better, because a lot of the Able locks bars are thicker than on the Axis lock. So great locking mechanism, great deployment, zero issues with this Hogue. So let's go ahead and hit competitive options, pricing, all of that, because that is a big seller of this knife, is the G10, the locking mechanism, the CPM-20CV steel. That's a very premium steel that usually you're going to be paying close to $200 for this knife. USA made, Hogue knife, good, well-known brand. I mean, all these things going together, this easily could be $200 and people would pay it. This thing comes in between $140 and $150, just depends on who, what, when, where, why, blade design, handle combinations. It's going to be right in that price point, which is a steal, I believe, for the materials. For everything that we're seeing here, that is a really, really good price. And I don't really know of another knife that hits all these points, all these features, the customization, the different blade shapes and styles that they're now offering, and this steel, USA made, at this price point. So just for size and competitive options here, I'm going to run in this HK Hogue made exemplar, and we will have links for you guys over to Blade HQ, Amazon, GP Knives. We appreciate when you purchase your knives and other gear through the links that we offer to you. Just really appreciate it a lot. That's where I picked this up. I think I picked this up at Blade HQ is where I picked this guy up, and the exemplar, if I remember correctly. This guy's going to be about $130 from what I remember, and this one comes with 154 cm, so nowhere near the quality of steel and, you know, durability, edge retention, all that stuff. And it's only about $10 cheaper. It's definitely a fuller, bigger, beefier handle, larger pocket clip, those type of aspects, slightly larger just overall blade. And then I wanted to run in here the Benchmade bug out, because I think that these are really competitive in their weight class. Now, the bug out is even lighter at 1.9 ounces, but it's a very similar shape in the blade, meaning like the length right at over 3 inches. You're looking at a very similar handle length, very similar thickness on the handles themselves, and it will not have liners. That's where some of the aspects to it. So it technically is not as durable because of the polymer over the G10 and and this is S30V steel, which is good, but it's not 20CV. And I'm not remembering pricing. I know when I bought this it was $115, but I think price has gone up a little bit and they're like $120 to $130 now. So very close. Only this guy, if you get the cheapest version that's just black handle satin blade, that at $140, it's only about $10 more, and you're going to get G10, and you're getting a even higher end steel and a lock that is operating the same or possibly even slightly better, arguably, than the Axis lock on the Benchmade. So it is definitely, I think, a heavy competitor with lots of knives out there. Great price point for what you're getting. And for a lot of you that may be looking at the bug out or maybe weighing your odds between the two, this is very, very competitive to the Benchmade bug out in weight class and size range and thinness, and just really lightweight EDC friendly knife. Okay, so before we end, I have this one little point of contention. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it definitely gives me a little bit of pause with the design. And it is pretty windy today, guys, so I apologize if the camera's shaking or the mic's, you know, fighting the wind a little bit. But I don't know if you guys can tell here on shot. Hopefully I'll brighten it up enough for you guys. The tip barely sits inside the handle, and if I really dig in there, I can easily pull that thing out with my fingernail. And the detent is good. It's, you know, what you would expect, so that's a good thing. So it's not just gonna fall out, but man, is the tip really close. And what happened the first day I got this, you know, I was messing around, opening and closing it, playing around with it, having a great time, like you would with any type of, you know, pivot lock, Axis, now Able lock, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's just awesome. It's a lot of fun to play with. That's one of the cool features with this design. But I sat it in my palm like I do with every single one of these designs that I've ever owned, regardless if it was from H&K, some steel wheels that are very similar, all my Benchmades, you know, I'll put it in my palm and I'll whip it closed. I don't know if you guys can see that. It is nicking my palm. If I push real hard, it's gonna cut me, and that is exactly what happened. I gave myself about a 1/4 inch slice right on the palm of my hand. And in contrast, here's the bug out. You do the same thing with the Hogue. It doesn't even come close to wanting to graze my palm, just because the blade is seated deeper in the handle scale. The handle scale comes away from the blade, and there's a little bit more distance between the tip and the rest of the handle, so I can't get my nail in there to grab it on knives like this. Definitely not an issue on the H&K Hogue design. I mean, I can bury that thing. It's not even gonna come close to grazing my palm. Now, some of you are gonna go, well, then just don't hold it that way. But that's how I open and deploy my knives sometimes, or if I give it to a friend. You know, that's a natural spot that I often rest it in. So now I have to think about holding it like this. Like this is no issue. If I kind of rest it kind of in that angle, it's no issue, but I have to think about what I'm doing, and I don't want to have to do that when I'm using this type of blade, because I've never had to do that in the past with any other knife like this. I've had this same issue with 1 or 2 other designs where just the tip of the blade from other manufacturers, Spyderco, I can't remember, there was another knife, I think it was a rake design, that the tip was just barely seated inside the handle scale, and I nicked myself. Or when you are doing different things, you can catch it and pull it out. Now, I can't seem to catch it with my finger, but if I get my nail in there, I can. So you can just see how close it is to the handle scale, and it's not buried inside the handle more. So I just wish that if they had just brought the handle out another millimeter and then buried the tip in another millimeter, it would have been perfect, 0 issues. So it's not a deal killer, but it gives me a pause when I'm using the knife, and I have to think about it and remember, okay, hey, don't nick yourself this time, Aaron, like I don't have to do with any of my other knives that are in the same locking mechanism design, regardless if it's like this, or say like a compression lock or a ball bearing lock from Spyderco. So guys, in conclusion, for many of you, this is like cream of the crop. The materials, the designing, the shape, the color combinations, everything about it now, different blade shape options, which is really cool. So every aspect of the design connects with me as well, and I love every aspect to it except for what we just touched on. That gives me a little pause, and obviously you have to determine for yourself, Aaron, you're a wuss, just deal with it and move on. I have no problem with it. Or for some of you, maybe like, ugh, I've had experiences with, you know, tips not being buried very deep in the handle before, and it's caused me issues as well. It's a data point I want to share with you to help you guys make that wise choice on whether or not the Deka is the right EDC folder for you. I think for tons of you, you will absolutely love it. I love what Hogue is doing, the direction they're going in, the materials to price point is bananas. There's just this little slight design critique that I have, that it did bite me. I've reviewed hundreds of pocket knives here, and very few bite me in this way. So just got to give you that data point. You guys decide, and I want to hear from you in the comments below. Is it totally like, yeah, I have one, it's not an issue for me, no problem, or does it give you pause as well? I want to hear in the comments below, and that's what I love, is just the back and forth that we have here. I appreciate you guys so much. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook, all the social media. Watch the other video popping up. Subscribe if you're not a current subscriber. We're throwing up content like this every single week. And always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.